Good morning, Bucknutters. It's Tuesday, June 7th, 2016. I'm Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change. Joined on Tuesday, as always, by the inimitable Duane Long. Duane, how are you this morning? Possibly the best extended stretch of good weather we've had for our listeners who like the weather updates.
It's been gorgeous out. Last night I'm watching a soccer match in the Copa America, and it's absolutely pouring. And it was messing with my head because outside I'm looking at just beautiful sun-filled sky, and here these guys are playing in a drenching rainstorm. Loving it, but today I got to go out and cut grass. That's the down part.
Good time for it to be temperate weather here in the southwest central Ohio area, as there are camps later this week at Ohio State, which is great. But today we're going to cut through all the nitty-gritty, get right to brass tacks. Duane's most wanted. What does that mean? We will keep this a non-adult show, so we'll stick to recruiting. There'll be no scotch, there'll be no cigars in this poll. That'll be for the After Hours podcast, which you have to pay for. The top 7 guys left on the board for Duane. So that means class of 2017, 7 spots left, we're assuming, to get us to 20. Duane's most wanted recruits out there. So we're going to start with number 7, 7th most wanted, and count down to number 1. Again, for clarity purposes, this is Duane's most wanted. And while it's been, theorized he could have a hotline to Urban's office, this is not necessarily that. This is if Duane was making the calls. So Duane's most wanted, 2017, at number 7, we have
a J2 Felly defensive tackle from Utah.
How's that?
I watched the kid on film, and I like the player. There were 2 things that bugged me about him. One, and it's still a problem, he doesn't have that great, huge frame. He's a big kid, big enough kid. That's what it comes down to. And when Barton Simmons says that the kid looked like the number 1 tackle in the country at a recent event, that says a lot to me. That's the biggest thing. I look at the competition in Utah, and I'm thinking that's got to have something to do with why he looks so good. Well, apparently you put him on the field against other guys that are college-level recruits, D1 recruits, and he still looks like the same kind of player. That changes everything. You just don't turn down great bigs. You take as many of as you can get, and he's out there. He apparently has a very high opinion of Ohio State. Looks like Ohio State's going to be in it till the end. You just don't turn down those kind of big guys if they're athletic enough, and it looks like he may be that kind of football player. Hopefully we'll get him up here for a visit, and he'll be as knocked out as Bowen was when he came up here. So Jay Tufeli, he's number 7.
Tufeli, number 3 defensive tackle in the country, number 51 overall. Number 6.
Baron Browning, linebacker from Texas. Now we don't really need linebackers, but you watch this guy's film. He's running around out there. He looks like the Predator. He's just a big, athletic kid. He's a lot like Justin Hilliard in the fact that he could play all 3 linebacker positions. He's big enough and tough enough kind of football player. He can play in the middle if you need him there. But he's athletic enough that he can play over the tight end or out in space even. He's just too good to turn down, Dan. We've got linebackers, not a great need, but you just don't turn down the difference makers, guys that are going to come in and play right away and play 3 years and go to the show. And that's the kind of athlete Browning is.
Yeah, 6'3", 230 pounds. 99 ranking, number 2 outside linebacker in the country, number 7 overall player in the country. Just a beast of a football player. Number 5.
Number 5 is going to be John Lindsay. He's going to be a wing back here, slot back from California. I watch this guy's film, and electrifying word that jumps in my mind. He is a guy that can change the game with one touch. He's got incredible speed. He's quick. He's a very strong kid for his size. He's a pretty solid cornerback out there too. Super athletic kid. He's shown hands. He went to a 7-on-7, and they weren't getting a hand on him. How can you tackle a guy when he would have scored in touch football. He's running up and down the field. He's destroying people. He's just a difference maker, a game changer. You got to go with John Lindsay. You've got to find a place for him in this class. He'd be my number 5.
Yeah, Lindsay is 5'8.5", 180 pounds. If you look at the rankings, he's really the highest rated small athlete in the country. So not a lot of those guys in the mix. But in terms of a game breaker, Lindsay is in there. Number 4.
Cam Akers, running back, Mississippi. I watch this kid, and I see so much of him. Reminds me of Ezekiel Elliott. Big kid, run between the tackles. If you let him out on the edge, he's going to outrun your defense. Absolutely difference maker. I think we have good running backs right now. A lot of people are really sold on Michael Weber. I'm just not. I just don't know if he's the future. Cam Akers is. He's a guy that you just don't say no to. Definitely one of the top 3 or 4 running backs in the country. And it looks like we're really strongly in a mix for him. In fact, I believe most would say we're the favorites to land him. You don't walk away from a back like that. I want to be sure we're great at running back. And I see greatness in Cam Akers.
Yeah, I'm not saying Cam Akers. Let's make this very clear. I am not saying Cam Akers is better than Ezekiel Elliott. Okay, I'm not saying that. But he's a better high school prospect. And he looks better at this point. He's the prototype if you're trying to build the modern NFL running back here. He plays a lot of quarterback at his high school. He's that athletic and smart. 5'11.5", 212 pounds. Can run between the tackles, can run outside. Number 2 running back in the country. It's just, he was put on this earth to be a running back. So Cam Akers is like, I thought you made a good, he is one of those guys where you're going to take Cam Akers no matter who you have. I love the idea of Ohio State, and, every back in the stable should be someone you want to draft in fantasy for the NFL eventually. I'm not sure they're there right now. They were when they had obviously the Hyde-Elliott combo lineage. So they need to get back to that. I agree. And Akers is one of those guys when you put on the film, you catch yourself standing up involuntarily. Okay. Number 3.
Tehran Grimes, wide receiver, Florida. These are the kind of guys that go at the top 10 in the NFL draft. Big athletic guy. When they're one-on-one, they're still open. That's the kind of receiver he is. Throw it up, let the guy go get it. He's that kind of difference maker. You want as many of them on your roster as you can get. We've been adding them little by little. I think Noah Brown could be that. I think Gibson could be that. Mack already is that. You can't have enough of those. I think Grimes is actually better than any of those guys. Grimes is unique. You don't even think about not taking him. And I think he's going to be a Buckeye before the summer's out. You get everything, the complete package with him.
Yeah, he cut his list down yesterday. Ohio State, Florida State, Alabama, Georgia, and Miami as his finalists. But literally, this guy has been penciled into the class for so long that I think we've somewhat come to take him for granted the way we are with, once we get a commitment, that guy's real popular for about 24 hours, and then they move on to the next. So Grimes, Pipeline, Aquinas, I've always had him in the class. I'd be bummed if he wasn't in it. But like you said, in the past few years, I'm not sure another guy has come along that I'm more confident will end up being a number one receiver in the NFL than Grimes. So there you have that. Number 2.
Chase Young, defensive end, Maryland. You want to talk about you have to bring people into your program who are going to impact the passing game. It's wide receivers, quarterbacks, defensive ends, guys that are definitely going to have an impact on whether pass is completed or not. And Chase Young, I was just watching a film last night. They've changed the rankings a little bit. 247 has. They've moved Kando, who over to strong side end, which is where I had him all along. They moved some other kid ahead of Chase Young. I just assumed Young would go to number 1. I have not looked at the other kid's tape yet. He's got to be spectacular to be better than Young. He's got it all. He's long. He's very athletic. He's got the first step quickness. He's got that relentless motor. There's not a lot you can find. He checks all the boxes. And, we brought in Jonathan Cooper. I believe Malik Harrison is going to eventually be a defensive end. But that's a position you've got to have people at. You just don't ever drop off there. You want guys you can rotate in and out, fresh, athletic guys. That just wears an offense down. Their tackle is just not going to. He's got to deal with a new guy who's just as fast and just as outstanding football player as the last guy that was in the net to play before. He's the one tiring. They're fresh. It makes a difference. He's a difference maker. This is a double-digit sack guy from the moment he walks through the building. He's going to be special.
And he plays at DeMatha, which is the best athletic high school in the D.C. area, arguably the East Coast. Some Cameron Wake, for example, played the exact same position there. So Chase Young is an absolute stud, and like you said, if the NFL were picking, I believe Chase Young will be very, very close to the top for the reasons you expressed. He looks like he's going to be able to rush the passer out of any scheme. Stand him up, put his hand in the dirt. He's that athletic, so we shall see. All right, the moment we've all been waiting for, numero uno. In Duane's top 7 most wanted recruits in the class of 2017 for the Ohio State Buckeyes, the number 1 most wanted is?
Jeffrey Okuda, safety from Texas. I mean, all you got to do is just watch the first 3 or 4 plays of this tape. The guy is just an unbelievable athlete. He could play corner. He could play, I have to absolutely believe he could play cornerback. He is explosive. He comes up. He will play the run very tough, very tough. And on the ball, his ball skills are a wide receiver quality. Just one of those guys that you don't even think about saying no to. Very special athlete. We seem to be in really good shape with him. And here's the thing. The one remaining spot, Urban Meyer, one thing I've loved is he picks places that need to be upgraded, and he attacks them relentlessly till he gets what he needs. The last remaining spot, and he's already started with the improvement with Fuller this past year, and I think Wentz is an awfully solid kid, play at strong safety, but upgrading the safety position, just getting so many athletes out there that practice is a dogfight. You're fighting for a position every time you step on the field. That's what we want. Upgrade the talent position at the position, and Jeffrey Okuda does that better than any player in the country. I thought he was the best safety in the country last year as a junior.
Wow.
He's special. And, we're in good shape at a position that I think we really need to add some more talented bodies at. So he would be number 1.
Fantastic. Jeffrey Okuda, South Grand Prairie, Texas, 6'1.5", 190 pounds, number 1 player at his position nationally, number 6 overall. Good gracious, for a safety. Definitely a playmaker. We will stay tuned. Duane, when people hear this list, the first thing they're going to ask, no quarterback. Please explain.
Well, we have a quarterback, and I don't believe Danny Clark's going anywhere. I think Urban Meyer made a statement not too long ago about offering kids outside the state and then, cooling on them and moving on versus in-state. And it was pretty definitive as far as I'm concerned that just wasn't going to happen. And Clark is not going to choose to go elsewhere. So there is a quarterback in the class, and I think that's really less of a thing than look at the other athletes who left off. Jalen Harris. Everybody was excited about him, and you think Omar Ritt, who I really like him. I'm a big fan of Lamont Wade. Lamont Wade is a tough little cornerback. He's not as big as you want him to be, but he makes up for it. Great looking athlete, great instincts. He'll come up and hit like a ton. You just don't think of guys his size doing that. So many guys that we don't have room for. We're leaving 4-star recruits. Maybe some of these guys are going to end up being 5 stars just because we don't have room for them. Guys that want to be Buckeyes. Harris is one. That's an in-state kid, big athletic receiver. I still think he could grow into a tight end. We'll see. But, what are you going to do? You're going to leave him off. You're going to take him instead of Grimes? No, you're not going to do that. You just don't have room for both of them in the class. And then let's get back to the quarterbacks. You just don't have room for 2 quarterbacks in this class. I would love to take a quarterback. I like either one of them. But, I just don't know how you take 2 quarterbacks.
These are first program problems we're dealing with right now, man. I can't even count the number of Division I schools that wish they were in Ohio State's theoretically precarious position. But one thing we know, this is going to be a ridiculous class. And, boy, recruiting has certainly changed. The Jalen Harris example is a great one, Duane. There's not a doubt in my mind that if Jim Tressel was still the coach, Jalen Harris would probably already be on the team. That just goes to show that the standard of recruiting has been raised, and let's see if it ends in more glass trophies. So we appreciate Duane stopping by. Sorry the show's a little bit late today, people. Have a good one, Bucknutters.